Three.
Hi, my name is Dr. Robin Abramczyk, and I am a holistic dentist in Heath, Texas. The name of my practice is Smile Ranch Dentistry, and I am here with my good friend Michael McNeal. Michael, will you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Michael McNeal. I'm a nutrition student in the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I've studied nutrition for 7 years. I currently work as a nutritional educator out of a compounding pharmacy in Plano, and I do health coaching on the side. So I am trying to encompass all my passion of nutrition, as much aspects of my life as I can, and yeah.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. And one of the things that I recommend to my patients who are interested in healing their teeth naturally is eating a Weston Price diet. And so whenever we talk about that, we talk about animal protein, vegetables, butter, cod liver oil, things of that nature. And I also have a certain subset of my population who are vegan, and they really try to stay away from animal protein. Michael, what suggestions do you have for those folks who come here and they're seeking to achieve oral health but staying away from animal proteins?
Gotcha. So for me, I incorporated a lot of the same principles in the Weston Price diet that I do in the vegan diet. And I've been a vegan for 7 years. So for instance, they use a lot of butter. I use coconut oil instead of butter because it's still a saturated fat. It still can coat the oil. If you do oil pulling, it can still coat your teeth, kill the bacteria, give those fat-soluble nutrients to the oral cavity. So personally, I just take butter and I put coconut oil. And I still do things like I'll eat broths out of kombu or out of kelp.
Instead of a bone broth.
Instead of a bone broth. So still get the dense amount of minerals, because that's the goal that we're trying to get. Is we're trying to be highly mineralized. Also, I'm not a carbitarian, so I don't believe, like Weston A. Price doesn't believe, you're supposed to do a ton of carbs, so a ton of processed grains and a ton of things, a ton of sugar. So we do a low carb diet, so we don't get phytates that bind to minerals and pull it out of your body. And so a lot of vegans fall into that trap. And so another thing I do, I usually tell people SOS, which is salt, oil, and sugar. They should change their salt to Celtic sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, get away from Morton's iodized salt or any of those types of things that are going to rob the body of minerals. Oil, again, coconut oil. You can do high quality olive oils, hemp oil. I try and stay away from flax because there's too much estrogen in flax. I'm also a low estrogen vegan because vegans usually have higher estrogen, lower testosterone.
Talk a little bit about that.
So in the vegan diet, since mostly vegans go soy based and they go flaxseed based, which is how I used to be, I became estrogen dominant, which has a whole host of symptoms.
Absolutely.
So what I learned was getting onto things like brown rice protein, hemp seed protein, chia seed protein. These are naturally high in zinc and minerals. They're low in phytoestrogens. And so what happened is my manliness came back, because in the vegan world there's a low testosterone, not a very manly nature. And so trying to bring the paleo principle or the Weston A. Price principle into vegan helps the vegan overcome those hormonal issues.
Great.
So you can,
What about other grains that you might recommend, such as spelt and kamut?
So I love spelt, love kamut. Quinoa has to be my favorite grain of all, only because quinoa by itself is a complete protein source. So if I take quinoa and, let's say, coconut oil, and I make a faux rice dish, if you will, I'm getting a saturated fat and a protein very similar to what you get out of meat, which is meat. It already has saturated fat wrapped up in protein. So I try and make those similarities because that's what my body likes. I like amaranth is another good one. Even couscous, which I don't do too often, but it's delicious. I still do brown rice, and I try to do everything sprouted as much as possible. So sprouting's huge, especially if you're a vegan, because your digestion of those grains or beans, even like lentils, garbanzos, stuff like that, you can just soak them in water, and you can soak them overnight, and you can rinse them off, and you can let them dry. And even doing it one time, if you go to cook those and eat them, your digestion's improved immediately compared to you just eating them raw or cooking them from the raw state. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. One more question. So I also like to talk to my patients about alkalizing their diet. Talk
Gotcha.
a little bit about that.
Okay, so vegans usually have a naturally higher alkaline diet.
Right.
One, because they're adding in more raw fruits and vegetables. And usually, if you get into veganism, you get into juicing. So we're juicing greens, we're eating high alkaline fruits. We're on less acidic things because meat can be acidifying to the body. And so can a lot of proteins or a lot of carbs. So I usually stick to greens, dark green leafy vegetables. Sea vegetables, which is usually missing out of people's diet, is super, super high in alkalinity. And then we can get into, I get into some supplements to help alkalize, or oxygenated water, stuff like that, just to keep the basis of my alkalinity as high as possible and overcome all the acidic conditions. And we know the breakdown of what acid does in the body.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
What did you have for breakfast?
What did I have for breakfast? Oh boy. So this morning I woke up every morning, I have at least 32 ounces of water. I had 16-gram protein sprouted bread that I put peanut butter on and an organic jelly, and I had an organic peanut butter and jelly sandwich that had at least around 30 grams of protein.
Okay.
And then I had a cup of coffee with it, and I brushed my teeth. I oil pulled, I flossed.
You better
I
floss.
did, yeah, I know. Because I knew I was coming here. I was like, I gotta do everything. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today, and
welcome.
thank you for joining with us today.
Thank you.